Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention? The forum is about to begin. Honorable Mr. Shafiq bin Sulaiman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good night. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So first of all, I would like to welcome you all to this forum. In this occasion, we would like to have a forum about monetary system and the Islamic monetary system. Before the presentations or our forum begins, allow us to introduce the panelists. First, we have Mr. Hardi of Gombak. Then we have Mr. Syed of Perak. And then we have Mr. Luqman of Selangor. And we have Mr. Saiful Azrel from Shah Alam. So without further ado, I would like to welcome the panelists to deliver the presentation or the forum. All right, Mr. Hardi, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adam. I would like to explain about basis of the monetary system and the Islamic monetary system. A monetary system hinges on the medium of exchange. The exchange of goods and services requires money creation and growth in e-commerce lead to the development of full-fledged monetary system. Money is defined as a medium of exchange and function as a unit of account, means payment and store of value. Either way, the Islamic monetary system, on the other hand, is different. This is because in trade and commerce, as in all other laws as the Sharia, Al-Quran states that all Muslims must be fair and just in all his dealing with each other group, organization, or the state. This fairness and justice is for the buyer and the seller. In the addition, Islamic banking also referred to as Islamic finance or Sharia compliant finance, refer to finance or banking activities that adhere Islamic law. Two fundamental principles of Islamic banking are the sharing of profit and loss and the prohibition of the collection and payment of interest by lender and investor. Islamic banks make a profit through equity participation, which require a borrower to give the bank a share in their profit rather than paying interest. So in Islamic monetary system, all transactions must be compliant with Sharia, the legal code of Islam that bases on the teaching of the Quran. The rules that govern commercial transaction in Islamic banking are referred to fiqh al-mu'amalat. The primary difference between conventional banking system and Islamic banking, that is Islamic banking, prohibit riba, that is usury, gara, uncertainty, and maisir, speculation, that is prohibition on gambling, taking interest on loans, and any investment involving item or substances that are prohibited in the Quran. So in conclusion, Islamic monetary system can be considered as culturally distinct form of ethical investing. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Hari, for the very informative sharing. Now we will go to the second panelist of what is riba, what types it have, and many more. So please, Mr. Syed, proceed.
Alright, thank you to Mr. Adam as a moderator for giving me an opportunity to discuss about riba in Islamic monetary system. Literally, the word riba means excess, increase, augmentation, expansion, or growth. Muslim writers give various definitions to the terms of riba. Basically, it is used to denote a specific kind of excess. This excess originates either in a thing itself or an increase in an exchange or sale of money at the sale of 1 dirham for 2 dirham. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani held that the essence of riba is excess whether it is in the commodity itself or in money. Abu Bakr ibn al-Arabi, a scholar Muslim, held that every excess in return of which no reward is paid is also be called riba. Riba can be classified into two types, which is the first one, riba al-nasi'ah. Riba al-nasi'ah occurs whenever the creditor advances loans on some monthly interest in addition to the principal sums at the time of maturity. If the debtor was unable to repay, the creditor would then grant them an easing time on the condition that the debtors agreeing to pay a fixed amount in addition. And under this riba al-nasi'ah is also divided into two sections, which is riba al-nasa'i and riba al-qad. Riba al-nasa'i meanings was it is originated from the sale transaction on deferred payment, and riba al-qad was originated from the transaction of a loan, and it is an interest or payment charged due to the loan given on dinar. We move on to the second point is that riba al-fadli or riba al-buyu. This kind of riba is based on the saying of the Prophet, which is a gold for a gold, silver for silver, weight for weight, barley for barley, date for date, and so on. Riba al-fadl is a sale or exchange between two goods of the same type with different rates of weight, if sold by weight or quantity. From the prophetic saying as above mentioned, the Muslim jurists came out with certain rules, namely, for example, in trading commodities of the same group and the same kind, for example, gold for gold, and other thing, the trader has to observe two conditions, which is the first one is both the commodities, which is goods, must be exactly equivalent. And the second one is that they must be on the spot or prompt deliver during the transaction. In trading commodities of some group but of different kind, for example, gold for silver and weight for barley, then the trader has to observe only one condition only, which is the transaction or the trading must be delivered on the spot.
Alright, thank you, Mr. Syed. That's a lot of us that we can learn. Now we know about how many types they have in riba. Now we are going to the third part of this forum, that is about the prohibition of gharar, or we could say as uncertainty. So I would like to welcome Mr. Luqman to proceed the forum.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Adam, for the opportunity. So next we will go on to the prohibition of gharar. Gharar means uncertainty and is associated with deception, involving uncertainty and risk. It is rooted in the Arabic word which is to deceive, gharar. Gharar is a broad concept. It can involve scenarios including first, pure speculation where an outcome depends on excessive uncertainty and the risk is not shared. Second, where consequences are concealed due to lack of openness between parties or lack of information of the contract or the nature and quality of the subject matter, or where a deal is made based on a misunderstanding. There are also varied definitions given by the Islamic scholars regarding gharar. First, technically, according to Saraksi, gharar takes place where the consequences of a transaction remain unknown. Second, according to Ibn al-Qayyim, he described gharar as being the subject matter. The vendor is not in the position to hand over to the buyer whether the subject matter exists or not. Types of gharar are relating to the form of contract and also gharar relating to the subject matter. Gharar dealings are harmful to certainty and openness in business dealings. The prohibition of gharar eventually protects businesses against transactions that involve high uncertainty or deceit, as they have the scope to cause injustice and involve risks being asymmetrically shouldered, such that will result in one-sided loss or gain at the other expense. It also ensures genuine consent in dealings, as genuine consent can only be achieved through transparency. The prohibition of gharar also protects against unexpected losses, disagreements, misunderstanding, and distrust, and consequently promotes satisfaction in business dealings. To conclude, Islam prohibited gharar because of the sense of uncertainty and deception that happens when doing a transaction. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.
Alright, thank you, Mr. Luqman, for the sharing. Now we will go to the last discussion of this forum, that is about the prohibition of gambling, or in Arabic term, we call it as maisir. So please.
Thank you to the moderator, Mr. Adam. First of all, we must know what kind of activities falls under gambling and why gambling is prohibited. Gambling is another fundamental prohibition in the Islamic financial system. It's also known as Siyar in the Arabic language. It is applicable to any activity in which a person gains or loses something only by chance. In other words, it's a pure chance game in which one person wins at the expense of the others. In gambling, the winner does not legally earn what he wins from his opponent, and the loser gets seized of his property without just compensation. Gambling also includes lotteries, lotto, casino-type games, and betting on the outcomes of animal races. These games of chance and gambling are banned by Sharia. There are various verses of the Quran and sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which clearly prohibited gambling. For example, in Surah Al-Ma'idah, "O believers, wine and gambling, idols and divining arrows are an abhorrence, the work of Satan. Keep away from it so that you may prevail. Satan only desires to rouse discord and hatred among you with wine and gambling, and to deter you from the mention of God and from prayer. Will you desist? Besides, God also says in Surah Al-Baqarah, they ask you about wine and gambling. Say in both, there is a great sin and more benefits to people, and their sin is greater than their benefit. It is also mentioned in hadith narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. The Prophet said, whosoever says to his companion, come, let us play a game of chance or a gamble, should give charity as atonement. According to the hadith, even an invitation to gamble is such a serious sin to Prophet Muhammad requested him to give charity as atonement. Then we might picture ourselves in the position of a gambler. That's all from me. Thank you.
Alright, thank you, Mr. Saiful Azrel, for the sharing. I could conclude that gambling or any game of chance, according to Islam, they share the desire to get a reason through deliberate risk-taking. Both games of chance and gambling are prohibited by Sharia. So, ladies and gentlemen, finally we come to the end part of our forum. I would like to say thanks again to the panelists for their informative and interesting talk, and to the audience for active participation. Hopefully the presentation will be beneficial for everybody. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.